Kenzy Soror is a student trustee with the Waterloo Region District School Board. She also just graduated grade 12 from Cameron Heights Collegiate Institute in Kitchener. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
So what letter grade would you give this past school year?
So this is a really great question. I would have to start by saying that the year certainly wasn't, one consistent grade from start to finish. For graduating students, especially, there were many points like exam seasons and waiting to hear from post-secondary schools that were very high on stress, and I would have given the year a B- at the time, but looking back at things now with everything said and done and reflecting on the year as a whole, I'd personally raise that grade to a solid A.
Okay. We often, our memories are terrible that way. We often kind of glaze over all the stuff that didn't go well in the last year. Now, what about, what were some of the knocks against you this year from your point of view? What were the more challenging parts this year?
Right. So through my involvement with the school board and public education in Ontario, I did see firsthand many controversies gaining a footing throughout the year. And I find that the issue isn't so much with a controversy and having a discussion about it, but with how often I would see these discussions spiral into hate towards various minority groups. So I'd have to say that the hardest part of the school year were these instances when negativity and toxicity would spread throughout our communities and seeing the impact that had on students throughout the year.
Yeah, because, as a student trustee, you had to stick your head out.
Yes.
And it was a challenging year for anybody who wanted to stick their heads out. And particularly on social media, there was a blurring of the lines of people, for instance, who may sometimes forget that you are not an adult yet.
Yes, still a minor.
What is the lesson that you come out of all of that with?
Well, in general, I would have to say that coming out of this experience and with all the social media interactions, it's just really shone a light on how much words do carry power, and they do carry power to do harm, not necessarily because of those words, but because of how we perceive who's saying the words, and especially the credibility of the people who are posting or the people who we're associating the posters with. And so I would just have to say that it's important to know better as people who do hold power than to amplify such damaging messages that do harm students and youth and minors and just minorities all around the province.
Do you mind, Kenzy, if I ask you what the lowest point was?
The lowest point for me? Well, I think it was kind of when everything started to pile on top of each other. So when, because I just completed the IB diploma program, and so that involved 13 different exams. So in that season, and that's also when a lot of those social media controversies were happening, and I was seeing a lot of hate being spread throughout the community. So that would have been around April, May, when I would just say it gets the hardest when a bunch of things start to pile on top of each other. And I've seen that in a lot of students where maybe getting through one thing, it's challenging, but it's, we can push through it, but it does start to feel like a really dark time when a bunch of things pile on top of each other. But ultimately, we all did get through it. And for that, I do think every student in Ontario, or every student in the world really, deserves a pat on the back for that resilience.
Does it give you a little bit of an insight into how some people in the school community are more vulnerable than others?
Oh, 100%. Yes. It's especially when someone as an advocate, when you start to stand up for communities, even when you're not involved necessarily with the communities that are being harmed, you do start to really see firsthand the impact on vulnerable communities and how damaging hatred and negative interactions can be towards them. I 100% agree.
We're joined this hour. Ava Esposito is with us, and she is a grade 12 student from Bishop Allen Academy. Also with us, Kenzy Soror. She is also graduating this year, and she is a student at Waterloo Region District School Board. She is a student trustee at Waterloo Region District School Board. She graduated grade 12 from the Cameron Heights Collegiate Institute in Kitchener. Thank you, both of you, for being with us for this hour.
Thank you for having us, Amanda.
Kenzy, I wanted to. You've been listening in to Ava and some of the students, and you had a leadership position as a school board trustee. What was that like to sort of connect with so many students across the province? What did you get from that?
Truly, I thought it was a very wonderful experience being able to connect with so many students across Ontario. And obviously, it does come with its ups and its downs. As I had mentioned earlier, being in the public eye, that does start to bring hate, negativity. But honestly, I just see all of that as a consequence of the good work that can be done when someone is involved with the student body and really advocating for the needs of students, not just in my region, but all across the province. So it was a roller coaster, but I wouldn't have given it up for anything else.
Ava, did you feel any of that downside yourself during the school year?
Personally, like in my school itself, I would have to agree in some ways. I think especially when I was interacting with different schools in this board, I think that's kind of where I noticed it as well, in the discrepancies amongst like our opportunities in our academic career.
Can you tell me more about that? What do you mean?
Yeah, so like I said, at Camp Olympia, there was multiple schools of the Toronto Catholic District School Board that were together. And it was an opportunity to talk to some of the students. And some of the students were talking about like their home life, their family life, financial life, just personal conversations I had with them. And it was just amazing to see, like, even some of the students there, their school still supported them financially to be at the camp for that weekend. Yeah. And still gain the same experience that I gained as well. So I think that was just really special.
Super interesting. Kenzy, do you identify with that?
Yes, 100%. It's really valuable, I feel, to hear about the experiences of everyone around you in as broad a community as you can access, really. And I completely agree about how inspiring really it is to see when students and peers are being supported, and then you can bring ideas back, for example, to your school or to your board on what they can do to further help students. But then I do think there's a lot of value in hearing about those who aren't being supported, and then that can start a bigger conversation on what you can do to help, how you can bring other people in to help and whatnot. So completely agreed. Yeah.
We had a student on in a previous show who said that this was the year that they learned a little bit about empathy, about connecting with others. Who's saying,
That's me.
Go, yeah. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. I think especially the pandemic in itself, we're seeing a lot of, even in the midst of the pandemic, but also now coming out of it in these post-pandemic years, there's still so many impacts on people's physical health, mental health, socioeconomic status. And so a lot of times, people who aren't experiencing those things themselves aren't 100% aware of exactly what's going on. But I feel like as a community, we've come together and empathy has been built in so many of us, and being able to hear about others' experiences and putting yourself out there to help others, that's key.
Again, how would you grade this last school year? 1-888-817-8995. Morgan is in Richmond Hill. What do you think? Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you grade this school year.
So, hi, I'm Morgan, and I would say I've just graduated grade 12. And
congratulations.
I would say that overall,
congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be done high school. But overall, I think I would rate it a B+ plus, actually, which is kind of sad. I was hoping it would be higher, but yeah.
What? Where did we fail you? What happened?
Yes. For me, it's just, technology. It's, we've had our pandemic. We've had 2 years of, muted mics and no cameras and not seeing anybody and being super isolated. And then we go back to school, at least for me, and I was expecting, okay, people are going to be so much more engaged and everything. And I was really hyped up. But then everybody is just so dead inside. They're just like, it's almost like we forgot how to interact with each other. I mean, I'm a total introvert. My mom's forcing me on this call. She's like, this is such a good opportunity. But like, I feel like people don't remember how to socialize and small talk and have these interactions, and they're all on their phones. Like, whenever there's a pause, it's Instagram or TikTok, and I just feel like that really made it difficult to make friends, especially after such a long pandemic and that feeling of isolation. I was surprised that it continued. Like, I felt surrounded by people, yet alone. So it was this weird dichotomy.
Very interesting. So, tell me a little bit about that. Can you tell me about sort of like the interaction? Are you talking about, for instance, in those social opportunities that you have, whether it's obviously not in class time, but in outside class time? Can you describe to me that situation?
So yeah, like usually when we have like, for example, like lunchtime, or we'd have our events, like we had a huge event at our school called Relay for Life, our fundraiser for cancer. And that was like the one event that I think that I was able to see people without their phones. I feel like just going in the hallways, everybody's just constantly doing something on their phones. They're not looking up. Like people crash into me all the time when I'm walking in the halls because they don't know what to do with themselves. And it's kind of, and especially when we're eating, like at lunch, it's been really difficult because I'm sitting across from someone and they'll just be on their phones and I'm trying to have a conversation. Yeah. That being said, it's not all kids, not all teenagers. But yeah, it's been one of the struggles that I've faced to try to say like, hey, I'm a human, talk to me.
Oh my goodness. What does that make you think about in terms of going on to university and perhaps sort of like making those social connections in the future?
Yeah, I honestly think it will have to be in some sort of no phones environment. I don't know how that's going to happen. I'm hoping Frosh Week is going to be very much, hands-on and like a certain sense of collaboration and teamwork, because I think that really does pull people out of their technology shells, so to speak. Yeah. But I think, if we can manage to get some sort of teamwork process going, I expect Frosh Week will be very much a phone-free environment, or at least I hope. But also I've learned to be a little bit more assertive about my rules with phone use and telling other people, like, hey, I'm talking to you. Could you mind just putting that away? Because sometimes people don't realize it. Like, I talk to my mom, and I'm also simultaneously texting, and she gets really irritated with me, and I don't even realize I'm doing something wrong. So I think it's just telling people what we're used to, and like that certain level of courtesy that maybe our generation is not super aware of.
Kenzy?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very valid point, and that we certainly, as a community, we need to rebuild as we do recover from this pandemic. I do like the idea of taking that initiative of, hey, let's have a conversation or whatnot. I think that's a great first step that everyone can be conscious of doing themselves. But looking at the positive side, we do know because of this technology that there's more than one way to do something, and we can use it to, increase accessibility. And so I think it's just about learning to find that balance and striking it properly.
I want to thank everyone who's called in. Eva Esposito is with us, and so is Kenzy Soror. Before you go, you two, I want to bring in our producer, Margot Wright, who is going to be retiring from this show, but not retiring from CBC yet. She's been with the show a good long time, answering your calls, listening to you on the other side of the glass. We may get 4 or 5 people, 6 people, 7 people, 8 people on air, but she listens to dozens of people calling in and hears your stories. And Margot Wright, thank you so much for for coming and talking to us
Oh,
before
yeah,
you go.
my last, this is my goodbye. Yes. So, Amanda, mostly I wanted to come in today to just thank our listeners and our callers. It has been a privilege listening to our callers share their stories and their perspectives, even their secrets. And particularly as a Canadian, it is really meaningful to hear all of you engage as citizens because you care about your community, you care about your family, you want to make things better for your neighbors. And I really feel honored that our callers trust us. They don't all agree with one another, and that's actually one of the things that makes an open line show interesting, right? But sometimes our callers are in very, very different camps, sometimes hostile camps, right? And we've heard that anger and polarization on Ontario Today. And I just want to sort of give you guys a bit of a picture of what happens on the other side of the glass when I'm answering the phone. So, I think what I'm hearing in some of that polarization is that people are scared by it. And but there's something that you people might not hear because I'm talking to a whole pile of people over the course of the hour. And over what I have noticed over the last year from what I'm hearing as the screener is that people actually want to listen to one another with people with different points of view. They are looking for places for common ground. They are looking to try to find compassion even if they disagree. And I actually think that's a really hopeful thing. And it is what I have always hoped for on Ontario Today for the last 17 years. We've always wanted to create this very welcoming space where Ontarians from this enormous, vast province can talk to one another from all across the political spectrum, from all across the globe, can connect with one another and debate one another and share their stories. And our callers do that for us every single day. It's amazing, eh?
It is, yes.
And frankly, the other thing too is it fits in with CBC's mandate in the Broadcasting Act. Our callers actually are the ones who inform and enlighten and entertain us.
And today we have sort of a format where we can speak to young people.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about this kind of show?
Yeah, well, it's just lovely to see them engaging. It's a fresh voice, So thank you to our callers, our listeners, and my dear colleagues on Ontario Today.
Margot Wright is retiring. Kenzy Soror is with us. And Kenzy, just a last word, a thought to you about this idea of speaking to each other and whether you're taking that forward into your new life in university.
Oh, of course. I want to 100% continue with advocacy and continue with activism in general and just making sure that anyone in the community has a listening ear that they can come to. And I just want to say I want to congratulate Margot on her retirement from this show. I've had some wonderful conversations with her in setting up these talks. And so I'm wishing her the best of luck in her future endeavors.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Kenzy. You too.
And congratulations, Kenzy, on your graduation from grade 12 at Cameron Heights Collegiate. And Kenzy, you made a request for a song. Can you tell me why you picked We Are the Champions?
Of course. So I did pick a Robbie Williams rendition of We Are the Champions, and I chose this song because I think we all need a moment to celebrate, regardless of where you are now. If you made it through this year, then you're truly a champion of the world.
Students, Ankita Jain and Ava Esposito and Kenzy Soror have been our special guests this hour. You can listen again on the CBC Listen app. I'd like to thank our team this week, Laura Glowacki, Miguel Plante, Pascal Jobin. A very hearty congratulations to Margot Wright for getting through this show every single day. I don't think people know that it's just two little people who put this show together. I'm Amanda Pfeffer. I hope you have a safe and happy Canada Day weekend. And congratulations to all the grads. We'll be right back here on Monday at noon.